The cheater, emotional or sexual, many people fall into it. Chapter 1. The cheater. Falling in love with another man's wife. If you read the Bible, King David did it and caused the man's death by leaving him out in the field to fight instead of giving him time off. Then he seduced her. Lancelot did it with Guinevere. There's even a movie from 1955 called The End of the Affair. Most literature that deals with this theme has a moral message to it, which is don't mess with another man's wife or another woman's husband, as in the case with women. But starting with Lady Chatterley's lover around the turn of the century, people started rejecting unhappy marriages and leaving their spouses to find happiness with others. I tend to agree, because I believe that most of us aren't wise or dashing enough to marry a soulmate the first time around. We are pushed into marriage by the social convention at a young age, so we end up marrying someone we don't feel strongly about. What happens if you marry someone who is alright but not the bomb? Then when you're out at the company social, you see another man's wife who causes bells to ring within your soul. Many people wouldn't do anything about it, but I believe that if true love comes your way, if you feel it deep down based on an intuitive feel you get about someone, you should go for it. No price is too high for true love. Give the old wife some money and the equity in the house and go for the real thing. Platonic friends. Men and women can't be friends because the sex part always gets in the way. Nora Ephron, When Harry Met Sally, 1989. Can attractive, vital opposite-sex people be just friends, or will it inevitably lead to physical relations? Who knows for sure, but when the dialogue stops, the next natural step is thoughts of passion, so watch it. The possibility of sex with an attractive opposite-sex person is always there beneath the surface of your mind. It's just the way it is. If you flirt and encourage this possibility, then you're putting the nails in the coffin of your marriage. The lesson is that if you're married and don't want to cheat, don't encourage it by flirting with anyone but your wife. Sexual possessiveness. In general, women can have sex with a guy whenever they want because sex with a female is considered a valuable commodity to men. It's something they want all the time, so it's a source of power for women. Sexual access is a female favor that she grants to men, often in exchange for something. When people marry, a woman is supposed to reserve all her sexual affections for her one man. The man feels like he possesses her sexuality, so when she gives this valuable commodity away to someone else, he feels it's an attack on him and his manhood, which is why men in general see red and go violent when a wife cheats. When another man sleeps with a man's wife during the childbearing years, the man has a good reason to be miffed because his wife could possibly give birth to a child he didn't father, and before DNA testing there was no way to know for sure, so a lot of guys were wary about raising kids after their wives cheated because there was a possibility that the kid wasn't theirs. By contrast, when a man cheats, the only hurt is to the wife's sense of betrayal, which is not as tangible as raising a baby you didn't sire. Many cultures have had an in flagrante delicto custom until relatively recently, whereby if a wife cheats on her man, he has the legal right to kill her and the guy she cheated with, but there was no such custom for the women if their husband cheated. A lot of women can't handle a cheating man simply because of the fear of abandonment, that the man will trade her in for the girl or guy he's cheating with. The betrayal of trust is one thing, the fear of being abandoned is another headache altogether. For men, beyond the fear of raising a child they didn't seed, it's all about the male ego. There's something about a guy that makes him can't stand the thought of some other guy having sex with his wife. It could go back to the wife as property thing. In any case, domestic violence and violence against their wives' lovers continues to be high among men whose wives cheat on them. Look at the case of O.J. in Los Angeles in 1994. He felt slighted at the earlier recital he went to and jealous of his ex-wife walking around all liberated and happy, barely acknowledging his existence while he was paying the bills. He didn't own her or control her anymore. His ego couldn't handle it, so he killed her. There are hundreds of cases of husbands murdering their wives because they feel they've lost the sense of sexual exclusivity they thought they had with them. Why people cheat? More than 80% of women and men claim not to cheat ever. The primary reason men cheat is usually to have sex. They either feel like they're not getting enough or not getting enough variety. Give him great sex, treat him like you really, really love him and he won't cheat. Give him variety in romance and sex. Make him smile and think that you're the bomb. Affairs are mostly for basic reasons, some of which are the rut, boredom, middle life crisis, a desire to feel young again, fell out of love or realize you're gay or bisexual. Many people cheat for all manner of reasons like ego, boredom, revenge, pleasure, fun, return to youth, curiosity, opportunity, peer pressure, testing the waters to see if they're still attractive, want to feel special and romantic again, need adventure, bored with life, stress at work, success at work, etc. But the most important are generally sex and emotional comfort. Men cheat for ego and physical thrills, women cheat for emotional fulfillment. Both sometimes cheat for love. The biggest indicator as to whether a person will leave a cheater is their attractiveness and independence in the real world. If you're reasonably attractive and independent, you will leave in a heartbeat if somebody cheats on you. If you're dumpy and dependent on your spouse, you will swallow whatever pride you have and stay because you're not exactly in a position where you have much leverage. In a nutshell, the most common reasons for cheating are: doesn't love you anymore, not attracted to you anymore, gay, lesbian or bisexual, for good hard sex, for easy, uncomplicated sex, for adventure, out of anger, to get back at spouse, midlife crisis, to feel young again, fear of getting old, for the thrill of doing it and not getting caught, high sex drive that one person can't fulfill, to get the oral sex your wife doesn't give you, for the emotional feeling of being loved, to have some fun for a change away from domestic bliss, to feel that you can still attract lovers. Opportunity presents itself spontaneously, somebody comes onto you somewhere. Easy way to leave a marriage: get caught cheating. Want to leave a marriage but want to be set up with another lover first. A lot of guys say they cheat because they feel betrayed by their wives. A once pretty thin girl who is now 60 pounds overweight, doesn't wear makeup, never dresses up and dotes on the kids more than she even thinks about him. Divorce is entrenched as part of our mass media culture. If it's not working out, trade it in. It's the story of our consumeristic society which rubs off on relationships. They say there's a 7-year itch. I think there comes a point in the lives of many men when they're afraid of losing their youth and getting old, so they go for a younger one on the sly to try to recapture the good old days for one last shot. Call it midlife crisis or whatever, but it's real. Just don't do anything stupid like destroy a family you've built up over the years. Beyond the sex thing, many people have affairs simply because they feel lonely. There is no communication, attention, or affection in the marriage. They appreciate the extra attention and the spark of romance in their lives. They can't resist when some new charming person comes into their lives to counter a dull, lifeless marriage. Many people are hurt because of fights, etc., and cheat to get back at their spouses. Studies done on both men and women have found that the number one reason for cheating is that the person is not satisfied with love at home, so he or she seeks to find it or find out what their sexual marketability is by going out, testing the waters and cheating. From all the talk shows I watch, the biggest reason I've found as to why women cheat is that the guy works all the time or hangs out with friends, leaving the girl's emotional needs of intimacy unfulfilled, so she goes out looking for emotional comfort elsewhere. When the woman cheats, it's generally for emotional fulfillment, i.e. the love she's not getting at home. But it's not just that clear-cut simple. Some people cheat to get back at their wives. In their minds, they're punishing them for the anger they feel inside, so they go screw someone to try to exorcise the anger they feel towards you. Other types of affairs may start with friendships that go over the line. Many people in helping professions like teaching, ministry, doctor, etc., come across troubled people who desperately need a warm touch, and it happens. A big reason for cheating is that the person is bored, wants a thrill, and seeks out a risky affair to get an adrenaline rush, all the more compounded by the possibility of getting caught. Why do men in so-called powerful positions do stupid things like have sex in their offices when everybody else is around? It's because they get a thrill out of it beyond the sex. It's adventure in the modern world. There is nothing left to explore, no new worlds to conquer, so, for the board executive, this is the next best thing. They say that most affairs aren't planned, they just happen. You're real friendly with this cute guy at work, your husband has been being a schmuck lately, so you justify it in your mind and it happens. Your husband doesn't have to be a complete schmuck for you to cheat, there just has to be enough discord to pull you over the edge, but it works both ways. Men and women alike cheat equally according to survey results. Chances are you're drifting apart at home, what with the kids, the job, and the stress. Everything has become predictable and the romance is gone from the marriage. You never go out together and your mate doesn't seem to care about you much anymore. The morale to the story is that you let it all slip away and almost invited your partner to cheat, although I'm not suggesting that it's right under any circumstances. If you don't want him or her to cheat, you have to be the alluring, romantic fool that they're having the affair with, unless, of course, it's too far gone anyway. Most men are not sexually satisfied at home because many women are too uptight and uncomfortable to enjoy sex. Women sacrifice sexual enjoyment for the security of a home and leave it at that. Most men go to hookers to get the oral sex their wives won't give them. Many men are bored with life and cheat for the excitement and danger element of it. Another reason, especially, for so-called powerful men out in the working world, is simply that they feel that they deserve it. They can have their cake and eat it too. I don't watch TV sitcoms, but when I occasionally scan them for a few minutes once in a while, I know why there's such a casual atmosphere in our society about cheating and casual sex in general, because it's the central theme of virtually all sitcoms. Monkey see, monkey do. Some people are straight out sex addicts. It's nothing personal, they just want to do it like dogs whenever, wherever, with whoever. The only way for some men and women to be sexually satisfied is to have a harem, and unless you're rich, that ain't possible, so the next best thing is to find someone to service you and vice versa. Ask any hooker about who her clients are, married men looking for sex. Many people, whether they realize it or not, are slaves to their egos, and when it's down, they will do anything to bring it up, like have an affair to make themselves feel attractive again, even though it may ultimately destroy their marriages. Barring that, in a societal context, what was once considered adultery is now taken as a joke, a fun, playful activity. Just consider the words associated with it: pleasant, fun-sounding terms like a fling, a liaison, hanky-panky, getting some on the side, extra meat, fooling around, etc. An affair is an adventure. If you want to do it, why get married or stay married in the first place? Although conventional wisdom says that men are the big cheaters, plenty of women get in on the action too, cheating on their husbands just like men cheat on them. For middle-aged people, it's a chance to be teenagers again. Affairs span the spectrum from the girl being the social worker while the guy tells her his marital problems, to the girl who likes it because it's a no-hassle relationship based on quickie sex. A big reason people cheat is that they feel their spouse has become a boring, chubby dud, or their spouse has passed them by, often the husband living his great life at work, being promoted, meeting new and interesting people, while the nagging wife stays at home raising the kids. People associate freedom and fun with a good time, and if they don't get this at home, they go elsewhere for it. People need an easygoing friend, a kindred spirit, a soulmate. Even if their spouse is all these things, they often still want a younger version, which is why women's bankability as a partner goes down markedly after 40 despite how great their personalities are. Men want to be with young girls. Personality is secondary. It's an escape from the drudgery of work and a return to youth. A lot of cheating motives are straight up revenge. You want to get back at your spouse not necessarily because they cheated on you, but because they were a bitch or a bastard to you, insensitive, unkind or cruel, so this is one way to get back at them. A lot of women do this because it's one of the few ways to get back at their husbands who control all the wealth and power in the family. Most men say they cheat because their wife is apathetic, nagging, fighting, not interesting, has gotten fat and dumpy over the years, so they stay in the marriage for convenience sake to keep the family intact while cheating on the side. In many cases, the wife knows and the arrangement seems to work. In many countries, men have mistresses on the side as a matter of custom. Everybody knows it and it's accepted as part of the lifestyle, like France and Italy. Cheating is fun because the person you're cheating with represents a romantic ideal you don't see at home. You see your spouse all the time in average circumstances and the romance goes, but your lover just pops in and out here and there, always freshly clean, romantic, and in a good mood, which is why so many men like their mistresses and so many women their secret lovers. Suppose someone in a marriage meets a new beau who they're convinced is their soulmate, but they now have the problem of getting rid of the wife or husband, so what they will often do is keep the secret relationship but start to cause trouble at home to alienate the wife so that it gets to the point where she wants to leave anyway, or they will simply get caught on purpose to avoid having to explain it to her, to keep it all simple for a quickie divorce on the grounds of adultery. Books about adultery are at hashtag 306.736 or HQ806 at the library. When someone is more likely to cheat. The times when a man is more likely to cheat are: when the magic of the marriage wears off after 2 years. When you start to look like a frumpy housewife. When you get pregnant. When you get fat. When you're a nag. When you're a bore. When you're on your period. When you're pregnant. Stress at work. When lonely, alone a lot. When the couple doesn't talk much. When one goes out of character. Birth of a child. People who travel for work like truck driver, pilot, sales rep, etc. Failure at something. Rejection in the bedroom. Midlife crisis. Success at work. Crisis in life like death of parent. Sexual addiction. Problems in life. Out socially for work or with the boys. Close contact with opposite sex cutie for work or church choir or anything. Close opposite sex friend who has a crisis and needs you. People in helping professions like counseling or teaching have all kinds of opportunities to get close with others relatively quickly. An emotional affair. Emotional affairs are a friendship a married person develops with someone outside the marriage that goes beyond friendship to a more intimate level that could lead to intimate cheating in the romantic sensual sense if left unchecked. Mostly women have emotional affairs, but some men do too, often right under the nose of their spouse. In fact, it's often one of the husband's friends who moves into the husband's role by acting as the woman's friend, talking to her, listening to her, doing nice things for her and with her. It's very easy to happen if you're not getting love, warmth, conversation, and tenderness from your husband. Emotional affairs generally start innocently as a friendship but quickly escalate to a more intimate relationship. The players form a strong emotional bond and at the same time, they get more distant from their spouses. If it gets too deep, an emotional affair is cheating without the sex, but often the emotional connection leads to touching, hugging, kissing, then full-blown intimacy. If you want to be in a strong marriage, firstly, you have to be in a strong relationship with open communication. Then if you find yourself getting too close to someone, cool it off before it escalates. It's not that hard. Just tell the truth, that you love your husband and you feel like you're dishonoring him by continuing on this way. Of course, some of these emotional relationships go the other way. The girl gets emotionally attached to the guy, realizes that he is more like her soulmate, realizes that her husband is an emotional dunce, so she gets the divorce and marries the other guy. This is quite common. Many divorces start this way, through an emotional relationship with someone else. If you find that you have been deep, honest, heartfelt conversations with an opposite sex person other than your husband and you feel very comfortable with this person, you had better get a few things straight. First of all, is this other guy sweet on you, or is he just a sensitive, sweet, or gay guy engaging in a pseudo-intimate relationship with you? If he's sweet on you, what do you want to do, bail and go with this guy or go back to your husband? Think long and hard, then make your decision. Whatever you do, Don't play both ends because they often end with more pain than necessary. It's best to cut it off as quickly as possible one way or another. Having said all that, the truth is that many emotional affairs go on indefinitely and seem to work out. The woman stays with her Dudley one-dimensional husband who sits at home and doesn't do much, but she goes out to choir practice or to the dance studio where she cavorts with her male friend. This is not as uncommon as you might think. People do what they must to get by. The older generation feel too settled in to get a divorce, so they stay in a marriage and develop emotional relationships on the side. You know that you are in an emotional affair if you are withdrawing more from your spouse than usual and getting closer to your friend. If you are in an emotional relationship and want out, treat like a less intense form of adultery. Cut off the relationship cold turkey. Tell your husband about it. Be honest. Don't get depressed. Stay inspired about your life. Talk to her husband. If he still doesn't open up after all this, maybe you dumped the wrong one. Share your life with your husband. Do things together. Don't go overboard on being paranoid that your friendships might escalate into an emotional relationship. Just live your life. Trust your intuition. Make a decision to work on the marriage. Apologize. Let go of the anger against your husband for being such a dip that his behavior almost forced you into this. Move on regardless of what decision you make, to either stay or go. Have your cry, then do the action you decided on. Chatting, flirting, or cheating. If you're married, your social energy should go to your spouse and kids. Do not go on social media websites chatting with strangers. Are you secretive in online chat? Do you share deep intimacies about your feelings? Are you flirty and sexual online? This is what leads to trouble and divorce. There have been some news stories blaming websites like Facebook and Twitter for divorces. Men and women do this. It's not just men. They spend their emotional energy talking to strangers rather than being with their spouses. Are sanctioned affairs good for a monogamous relationship? The tabloids routinely talk about someone who cheated and got caught. Humans seem hardwired for multiple partners. Sanctioned affairs could be good for the relationship. They create new sexual energy which the person brings back into the relationship. The sanctioned cheater might learn something to improve lovemaking. Chapter 2. How to cheat in a relationship. How to cheat 1. Read what I say about how people cheat and use it in reverse to not give yourself away. The most obvious things are time, mood, and habits. Cheating husbands often use lunch hour, the time immediately after work, leave work early for a rendezvous, the time where they say they're hanging out with friends, going on a business trip, doing work at the office, or playing golf. A working woman does the same. The housewife has 2 big blocks of time every day while the kids are at school, both in the morning and in the afternoon. If your mood is always a monotone, then all of a sudden you get perky. That's a signal to the intuitive wife that something's up. If you're a couch potato who all of a sudden starts working out and watching what you eat, there may be a higher motive than watching your health. Don't change from a cynic to an optimist overnight. You have to act in such a way that you're just being your plain old self, not all of a sudden too up or all of a sudden too aloof. If you act giddy around your spouse, his or her intuition will probably figure it out. Avoid very public places where her friend might see you two together. Avoid nosy people in general. Keep your mouth shut. Don't even tell your friends except for the guy who will make phony phone calls inviting you out to the game, leave phony messages telling you to meet him to go play golf, and cover for you when you need an excuse. Don't trust casual friends, especially opposite-sex ones. You never know when they will tell your wife. Be wary of catching an STD. If somebody sees you in a public place, have a story ready like she's your secretary, a client, or your sister. If you think your wife is onto you, be wary of private investigators and hidden cameras. Always act like you're a great family man around your wife. If you get caught, you can always deny it and see how far it goes. As far as paperwork goes, don't charge anything on a credit card for a bill she might see. Get another credit card for the affair and get the bill sent to the office. Either use a personal cell phone or make all your calls from a phone booth to avoid seeing things you don't want seen on the family phone bill. Your biggest asset or liability is your lover. He or she can either be your ally or foe. There have been plenty of cases of jilted lovers who called up the spouses of their former lover to tell on him. Don't pick your spouse's sibling, relative, or friend, because if you do, the cat will get out of the bag at some point in time. If you're with a dependent flake who needs you all the time or insists that you leave your wife for her, it will be a headache since most guys don't leave their wives, although some do. Finally, beware of a jealous lover who will start stalking you or wants to do you in once it's over. Memorize her phone number and don't keep it written down anywhere. Try not to give your new lover your family phone number because you never know what a scorned bitch might do later. Statistics say that less than 5% of all affairs result in a marriage between this new couple. Even though we think mostly men cheat, a lot of women do too. It's just that husbands are much less suspicious than women. If she says she's going to the church choir practice, shopping, or to her friend's house, what do you care? It just gives you the freedom to watch pornos while she's gone. There are many husbands unknowingly raising children who are not biologically theirs even though they think they are. For every 100 single men in America, there are 115 single women, which means there are way more single women than men, so it's relatively easy for married men with a bit of flair to take up some of the slack, because it's so tough for women to find decent guys to have a relationship with, much less marry. Couple this with the fact that a lot of women like a married guy, because he's safe, manageable, and only part-time, therefore not all-consuming to her, which is exactly what an independent-type career girl wants. One guy says if you want to cheat, pick someone who lives at least 7 miles from you, because if you pick someone in your area, chances are someone will spot you two together at an inopportune time. One guy used to have all his dates with his girlfriend in the neighboring town about 10 miles away. Probably the most important thing is who you're cheating with. You need a flexible, easygoing person who wants the same thing as you, preferably just sex for a while with no strings attached, who won't get all angry if you say you have to cut it off and move on. College girls or strippers make good girlfriends for older men with a bit of money, provided the understanding is I help you out financially in return for a temporary safe haven a few times a week. Plenty of men set girls up with an apartment and a car on the understanding that she be the mistress or girl on the side. This is probably the best way to go. Somebody made a TV show out of surveillance video catching people who cheated in the act. There are all kinds of situations, following women to shopping malls where they changed their clothes and cars, lesbian and gay lovers married to heterosexual people, a guy calling up an escort at home when his wife went out, paying her, having sex right there on film, 2 cross-dressing guys meeting somewhere, etc. One guy visited his neighbor when he went out to walk his dog. The private investigators either follow the suspected cheater around or set up the cheater by having the honorable spouse set up a phony business meeting on the weekend or something like that to get out of the house. Then they simply watch the house and wait, kinda like when the cat's away, the mice will play. They even follow people when they go on trips. Most people cheat during lunch hour, so if you watch your spouse for a few days as he leaves his workplace for lunch, you will catch him in the act if he's cheating. If you cheat with someone and realize they're the love of your life, don't worry about it. It happens all the time. You get married too young for all the wrong reasons, then 5 years later meet your real soulmate. It's very simple. Tell your spouse the truth. You don't really love her, she's a nice girl, but it's not love. Give her some financial incentives, especially if you have kids, then bail and move on. A good job that's easy to cheat on is something where you're always on the move or on call, like a taxi driver, a contractor always going out doing estimates on new jobs, a doctor who just has to say he got an emergency call at the hospital. One guy kept a case of beer in his trunk, and about 10 minutes before he got home after cheating, he would pull a beer out, drink it down, and simply tell his wife he was out with the boys for a drink. Pay cash to avoid the credit card paper trail. Have your cell phone bill sent to work. Come home in the same clothes you left in. Try to shower or clean up after the act. If your home has caller ID, don't call from hotels or restaurants. Drive in separate cars during the day to avoid being seen. If you get caught and want to stay in the relationship, either deny or admit it and act contrite. If you want out, this is your perfect chance. Make it short and sweet. Tell her you don't love her anymore, pack up and go. In the end, don't go overboard on cheating. If you keep it discreet and calm, doing it only a few times a week in a low-key manner, you can do it for years without your spouse suspecting if that's what you want. But I say, why cheat? Be single and you can do what you want when you want without anybody looking over your shoulder. How to cheat too? Ralph Clayton, my buddy, a self-proclaimed cheater, told me it was all about several things. The cheated one, either man or woman, doesn't want to believe it. They will live in denial and try to avoid it because they know it will bring much pain, shame, and embarrassment to acknowledge that the marriage is failing, that perhaps you're not good enough to satisfy him. Unscrupulous men can play on this. If you're cheating, I'm assuming you're past morality, so you are not above using dirty tricks on your partner. Act like a Christian monogamous man, how disgusted you are with cheaters, how you would never do that. If pressed, deny, then turn it around and say she's crazy, she should go see a psychiatrist for being so paranoid. If you want to leave your spouse, try to make them feel deficient or mentally ill, like tell them they're depressed, angry, stressed out, tired, etc. This makes him or her start to doubt themselves and gives you an excuse when you do leave. The guy is doing this to start the split on an unconscious level. Pick the right person, someone not likely to squeal to your spouse and someone who doesn't want you to leave your spouse to marry them. You want someone looking for a friend and booty call in a casual way. When you first get into the affair, keep it cool. Don't act giddy around your spouse. Don't leave evidence. Be aware of details like cigarettes in ashtrays, hickeys, love scratches on your back, etc. Develop a friendship that will last years. Keep your mouth shut. Don't even brag to your friends. They have wives who they tell, then the wives squeal. Stay the same at home. Don't overcompensate out of guilt for the affair. Do not get distant from your wife. Act like everything is normal. If you start hiding money, be very secretive. Don't leave hidden account statements laying around. Don't have incriminating statements on your credit card. Always put your family first. If you get caught, deny, or simply leave. It's as good a time as any to end a marriage. Cheating trick. A trick that some wives use to catch their husbands is that some of the big long-distance carriers and other telecom companies sell prepaid phone e-cards such that you can go to their website, type in the account number and personal identification number / PIN on the card, and a record of all phone calls made on that card will come up. The PIN is usually covered over when you buy it. You have to scratch it off, so scratch all of the covering stuff off so that he thinks it came that way. Give the phone card to your husband with lots of minutes on it. I've seen 600-minute cards sell for $20 at Costco, and tell him it'll save money on his business calls. Then simply go to the website, pull up a record of all the calls he makes, put the phone numbers into reverse telephone directory websites to see who they belong to. Nowadays, that idea might be obsolete, so you buy him a new cell phone or a tablet with an account that you have access to because you know the password. Make it seem like an innocent gift.